No one noticed the old man had stopped waving. And that was the most dangerous part of the story, because when someone disappears slowly, the world convinces itself it was never important. On a quiet residential street lined with ordinary houses and neatly trimmed gardens, an elderly man named Mr. Thompson lived alone without asking for help, waking every morning at 7:30 with the same routine he had followed for decades: boiling water for tea, sitting by the window, and raising a hand to greet whoever passed by. A small gesture that reminded him he still existed in a world that had begun to forget him. And the neighbors saw him occasionally, some waving back out of politeness, others absorbed in their phones or busy thoughts, all comforted by the idea that he was fine, unchanged, and always there, until the harsh winter arrived earlier than usual, bringing a biting wind that cut through clothing, icy mornings and nights that felt endless. And one Monday the curtains stayed closed, the window dark, and people passed without noticing, brushing it off with thoughts that he must be resting, visiting family, or simply enjoying a quiet day. And Tuesday arrived with the same emptiness, the street carrying on as usual, cars moving, children running to school packages, deliver neighbors in a hurry. And by Wednesday, the absence had become part of the background, uncomfortable but ignored, because no one wanted to assume the responsibility of checking on him. And inside the house, Mr. Thompson had slipped while reaching for his phone, falling hard enough to steal his balance, but not his consciousness, leaving him trapped on the floor with the phone just beyond reach. The heater switched off, the cold creeping in as hours passed, calling out first confidently, then softly, and finally only in his thoughts, listening to the footsteps and distant sounds of life moving on without him. Days passing, marked by hunger, thirst, and the slow ache of isolation, until he began to wonder whether this was the true meaning of being forgotten. Not a sudden disappearance, but a slow fading where everyone assumed someone else was paying attention. And across the street, a 12-year-old boy named Oliver followed his own morning routine, leaving for school and glancing at the window without thinking, until on the 7th day he noticed something wrong, his instincts telling him that the usual wave had not come. And he asked his mother a simple question about why the old man had not waved. Quested tears to the normalcy of routine and forced action instead of complacency. And his mother felt a sudden weight of responsibility, crossing the street and knocking once, then again, louder, her heart pounding as silence met her efforts, until she called emergency services, and together they entered the house to find Mr. Thompson alive but dangerously weak. The doctor later explaining that one more day could have ended differently. And the neighbors stood in disbelief, replaying the week in their minds, realizing how many moments they had assumed someone else would act, and how small acts of attention could have prevented the near tragedy. And when Mr. Thompson recovered, he did not blame anyone for their delay. He only whispered that he had believed if he stopped appearing for a while, someone would come sooner. A sentence that resonated in every mind present, changing the way they noticed, interacted, and valued each other. And the street gradually shifted in subtle ways. Someone knocking every morning, someone delivering groceries, someone stopping for tea, even when busy. Not as heroes, but as humans who finally understood that neglect rarely shouts. It whispers. It hides in ordinary life until the consequences are almost irreversible. And Mr. Thompson continued his morning routine, waving from the window. But now people stopped, waved back, sometimes crossed the street, and slowly a culture of awareness took root, teaching that people do not disappear when they die. They disappear when everyone assumes someone else is paying attention. And the lesson spread quietly, affecting neighbors, friends, and strangers alike, showing that small, consistent acts of care, attention, and presence could prevent tragedy, reminding the world that ordinary people, ordinary lives, can be the difference between life and death, and that responsibility does not wait for permission, and that looking away is more dangerous than any neglect one imagines. And as winter turned to spring and the harsh cold finally left the street. The awareness remained, and every time someone passed Mr. Thompson's window and waved back, they remembered the week that could have ended differently, the week that taught them that attention, care, and noticing the small signs are what truly keep people alive. Not wealth, not status, not fancy gestures, quote, simply being there when it matters, even if no one sees it immediately, quote. And as the years went by, the street maintained its quiet lessons, a reminder that human lives are fragile, that routines can mask loneliness, and that it is never too late to act, never too late to notice. Because the cost of assuming someone else will take care of it is measured not in inconvenience, but in nearly lost lives, and Mr. Thompson, once nearly forgotten, continued to exist in their lives in a way that was both ordinary and extraordinary, a living proof that small gestures, attention, and presence are sometimes the most heroic acts of all.